What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Paige calling the police, concerns over Vince McMahon's health, the next Brock Lesnar in WWE, the Dark Order's future, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now, our first story looks at Paige calling the police on an identity thief. A former Divas champion, Paige's 2021 has got off to a bit of a bad start as an individual apparently tried selling her and her boyfriend's address. The anti-diva tweeted a screenshot of the person in question, sending DMs offering the personal information. Thankfully, some fans sent screenshots of the DMs to Paige as she responded, contacting law enforcement and tweeting, "You realize how disgusting this is? You literally tried to get money for our address. You're a terrible person. The cops are involved. A report was put in your name. Numerous people came forward about you with DMs. You changed your Twitter name after being called out." However, there are always two sides to every story, and Wrestling News' Paul Davis is reporting a user under the name of Ash Potato later claimed on Twitter that she had a bad experience with Radke and was later sent a threatening DM from Paige. Paige disputes the accusation and noted, "Girl, none of that ever happened. You are the problem. That girl you are supporting sold our address to people. Now she's playing victim because she got called out. We have lawyers and cops involved and they're setting up a case against her. The more she does, the more it helps our case. She will not be getting away with doing something so disgusting and illegal. She put our safety at risk." Now, this isn't the first time Paige has had to deal with people who don't respect personal boundaries. Paige's boyfriend had to deal with a stalker last year who showed up at the couple's residence. We'll continue following the story to see how it plays out. Next up, Paul Heyman talks the next big thing in WWE. And seriously, this guy really looks like Brock Lesnar. Has Paul Heyman found the next Brock Lesnar? Recently, college football player Parker Boudreaux, sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, tweeted that 2021 is going to be something special. In a move that caught some fans by surprise, Paul Heyman replied, "His tweet is not a prediction, it's a spoiler. Save this hashtag hustle tweet for future historical reference," tagging in Parker. Parker refers to himself as the next big thing on his Twitter and Instagram accounts. Could the WWE have him in their sights and they're laying the groundwork for a debut down the road? This dude is huge. Next up, AJ Styles names two future main eventers. AJ Styles has been wrestling since the end of the 20th century and has some of the biggest stars in the industry, so his opinion on wrestlers holds some considerable weight. But who does the phenomenal one see as a future main eventer? During an interview with WWE India, he was asked who he sees as future stars on Raw, naming two NXT stars who jumped to the main roster in 2020. Matt Riddle is definitely got, that is, coming up. Riddle, as we call him now, he's definitely a talent that you need to watch in the future. He's gonna be a huge star. Keith Lee is another one of those guys who's just super powerful and can do things that a big man shouldn't be able to do. Lee and Riddle have considerable potential, and both stars seem to be set for pushes, with Lee getting a WWE Championship match against Drew McIntyre tomorrow night, and Riddle challenging Bobby Lashley for the United States Championship. Next up, did Brian Pillman Jr. sign with AEW? Has second-generation Brian Pillman Jr. signed with All Elite Wrestling? Pillman has been working matches for AEW, often on AEW Dark. Pillman has been working for MLW and OVW, but recently vacated his OVW Heavyweight Championship and dropped the MLW Middleweight Championship, signs that Pillman Jr. may be signing with the AEW. Wrestling News' Andrew Ravens commented on the situation, noting, "Typically when AEW signs a new talent to a full-time deal, they announce it on social media, which hasn't been done yet. Perhaps when his status with MLW gets figured out, that will be done by All Elite Wrestling." Pillman Jr. is a fantastic talent who should become a prominent player in AEW if and when he signs a full-time deal. Next up, WWE Network is releasing the best of Luke Harper. The WWE Network has announced a number of programs for January, including the best of Luke Harper. There's currently no word on which matches will be featured, but we will continue following the story. Next up, a Hall of Famer talks Infatuation with Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie McMahon has had her fair share of fans who can't help but admire the billion-dollar princess's sexiness and sass. However, there's also a WWE Hall of Famer who admits he's infatuated with Stephanie. Recently, Devon Dudley appeared on the Average Bloke show and discussed how he's sweet on Stephanie.
I must say that this particular female, which I've gone on record with WWE Ride Along, and I admitted to my infatuation of this individual. And Bubba made fun Bubba made fun of me the whole time during the ride along. I would have loved to have dated Stephanie McMahon. I am infatuated with Stephanie. I think she is beautiful inside and out. She's funny, charismatic. She's everything that I would think that a woman should be if I wasn't married.
What do you guys think of Devon's crush? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, why no one was surprised Vince didn't meet with Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega's firing from the WWE wasn't a surprise, considering she refused to give up her Twitch streams to the WWE after the promotion ordered its wrestlers to either shut them down or turn them over to the company for its own profits. However, what about the fact that Vince McMahon didn't meet with Vega before firing her? According to a report from Fightful Select, that wasn't a surprise either, as Vince McMahon has been next to impossible to meet with, and that even planned meetings are postponed for weeks on end. Furthermore, one wrestler noted that it didn't instill a lot of confidence in them that Zelina had an actual concern over a hot button issue and wasn't heard out and was promptly fired. Some people believe Vince's inaccessibility may be related to rumors of the WWE chairman dealing with health issues. However, nothing has been confirmed so far. Next up, the Dark Order's future. The tragic passing of Brody Lee has fans and wrestlers still reeling, and while it's not a priority, there are questions about the future of the Dark Order, the heel faction Lee ran as the Exalted One. Recently, Dark Order member Evil Uno spoke to Chris Jericho on the Talk is Jericho podcast, acknowledging that he and the group's members knew that Brody Lee was ill. As for the group carrying on, the masked man said, "I don't think it's something impossible, especially with myself and Stu. Since we were Dark Order since day one, we've been through many phases of Dark Order. We had to adjust even when storylines were changing or things not working. Lockdowns, border crossings, people getting put in the group while not knowing who they were, so I think we've always been good at adjusting. You have to, right? You have to show that you're multifaceted." The Dark Order operated without its Exalted One being seen for months, and for a time it seemed that AEW was unsure just who would play the role of the group's leader. There was talk of Matt Hardy filling the role, but ultimately Brody Lee debuted as the Exalted One. Evil Luna admits there are challenges if the group stays together, but there's also pressure for them to stay together in order to honor Brody's legacy. What does Dark Order do from here? Genuinely, I wish I could tell you. I wish I knew. Today, right now, I don't even want to think about what's coming up. I'm mostly thinking about John. I think the most obvious thing is we need to stay as a group in his honor. His name is going to be attached to us forever, and anything from now on that is bad is not a bad thing just for us, but also a bad thing to his legacy. So I feel like we have to produce the best content we have. The cult thing may not be the best approach next, maybe we're just a family. There's a lot of ways we can go about this, but I think everything is going to be under a magnifying glass because everything we do now has to be as good as what John was. Do you guys think the Dark Order should remain together, and if so, how should they continue? Should they keep working as a heel faction based on a cult or go in another direction? Should someone replace Brody Lee as the group's leader, and if yes, who? Let us know in the comments down below. And finally, there's concerns about Vince McMahon's health. Now, is Vince McMahon ever going to retire? As the WWE product flounders creatively, fans are constantly asking that question, and it's one Jim Ross discussed recently on his Grillin' JR podcast. You wonder sometimes how intense he is and how busy he is, and the responsibilities he has running a massively publicly traded company if it's getting to be too much. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm a lot more concerned about his health than him being able to run the company, but he will run the company until they bury him. Now, although Jim Ross hasn't been in the WWE for several years, he still stays in touch with Mr. McMahon and is familiar with his work ethic thanks to the decades he spent in the WWE as its lead commentator and front office employee. But there you have it, guys, the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.